Hello, my name is Councilman Peter Napolitano, and I'm a candidate for mayor. I'm down at the Waters Ave projects, one of the projects that the mayor has gotten behind and tried to develop down here. A few years ago, a developer came into this area, knocked down the commercial spaces over here, and proposed a 300 apartment unit complex. This neighborhood turned out in droves to oppose that. Their reasoning? Their streets, the congestion, the fact that they felt a unit that big was going to block their sunlight. They had issues with it, they had problems with it. To their credit, the planning board at that time had listened to these concerns and decided that this was a project not fit for the city of Everett. Now, about a year or so ago, a new set of developers come in, and they're proposing something similar, 198 units. Now, one of the key problems with putting 198 apartments down here is that the city of Everett has an ordinance that requires that for every one unit you have to have 2 parking spaces. A variance was granted to allow them to be able to have an additional number of 100 cars over and above the number of units. So the plan is to have 298 cars in this neighborhood. Now, the neighborhood came out, again, at the planning meeting. It was a public hearing. 45 residents came down to oppose this, and each and every one of them spoke and voiced their concerns about this project. Only one person showed up to speak in favor of it, our mayor. His feeling was that this was good for the city. It took a piece of property that had been undeveloped and allowed it to be able to have some buildings on it. Even though the neighborhood had talked about the parking and the traffic in through the neighborhood, the mayor felt that he could route the traffic through either through Air Force Road down here or down Main Street, and there wouldn't be much of an impact on this property. Fortunately, the planning board didn't see it that way, so they extended the hearings to be able to get further information. Now, one of the conditions that they granted was that the mayor had said that the residents here would not be granted residential parking stickers, so they would not be parking in the neighborhood. Well, I had a hand in writing the ordinance that originally set up the residential parking program. And I can assure you, there's nothing in the ordinance that allows you to be able to be selective like that. We cannot, as a city, say, you can get a residential parking spot, you can't. If you live here, by ordinance, you're allowed to have that. Now, when we look at why is a project like this bad for the city? Well, they're proposing $380,000 of tax revenue being generated here. The problem is that it started off as condos, then it went to rentals, and now it's going to be Section 8. With Section 8, that reduces the amount of property taxes that a city takes in. So now we're going to be getting less money. Now think about the additional burden to this neighborhood and to the city. Our fire department now has to be specially trained to be able to handle large apartment complexes in the event of a fire down here. Our police are going to need to spend more diligence down here, patrolling this neighborhood to make sure that it's safe, to make sure that we don't have the traffic problems that are going to happen with this many cars coming into such a small neighborhood. And additionally to that, with Section 8, that means school children. And we have a school not far from here, the Matty English, that's already overcrowded. The city of Everett has gone over 40,000 as far as the documented population. The Matty English already has more kids going there than they can afford. And the programs and grants that would normally sustain that are now disappearing. We need to be thinking about how a project like this impacts the city of Everett. Additionally, what about our landlords in this city? Every person that owns a 2-family or 3-family home that is already having a hard time finding the right kind of tenant for their apartment now has 198 units to compete with. This is not a well-thought project. What this neighborhood needs is they need a business development. You could do it with business condominiums. Something that's going to generate jobs. Our tax revenue is for businesses is much higher than residential, and it would lessen the impact on this neighborhood. Fortunately, the planning board had looked at it and listened to all the pleas of the neighborhood. And last September, they made the decision that this project was really nothing special. They put it on hold. They figured it was a very generic project that was not really lending any values to this community. So that currently is going on until they come back with a counter proposal that the city will sit and listen to. But this is what we need, is we need some planning. We need to be looking at how a project like this is going to impact the city, not just today, not just for today's tax revenue, but for tomorrow and in the future. Business down here would generate jobs. It would lessen the impact on the neighborhood. That's a win-win for the city of Everett. My name is Peter Napolitano. I'm running for mayor on November 8th. I'm asking for your vote and I'm asking for your support. We're planning on bringing a more conservative approach and a more conscientious approach to city government. We're all in this together and we have a lot at stake. So again, I'm asking for your vote. Thank you for your time. You have a great day.